we're going to start. My name is Cedric Snauwaert, and I'm a developer at Odoo. I'm part of the accounting team, and today I'm going to show you how to create your own accounting reports. So the presentation will be as follows. First of all, I will explain to you the difference between the two kinds of reports we have in Odoo for the accounting. So there are the financial reports and the custom reports. After that, I will do a brief demonstration, and I will explain to you a use case we will gonna use throughout the presentation. Then we will move to the main subject of this presentation, which is how you can create your own custom report. After that, for those who want, there will be some further customization that you can do. And finally, if we got some time, I will answer your questions. So let's get started. In Odoo, if you want to create your own accounting reports, you have two ways to do it. Or I like to call it the developer way or the non-developer way. So we've created an object to help people to create their report that is called the financial reports. So you can do a lot of reports with those objects, but not everything. So that's why, in some case, we need custom reports. So the main difference between the two is that the financial report, as I said, is an object that is created in Odoo, so it's very easy to use. You can easily create it using XML. You can even use the Odoo interface to create your report. You don't need much work to do it and much knowledge to write a report. The downside is that as they're fairly easy to use, it only works with the account move line, and you can only use some formula in it, like the sum over a period. On the other hand, if you have the need to create a more advanced report, you need to write Python code. So that's what we call the custom report. That will be the topic of this presentation. So as you write Python code, you can do pretty much anything you want, and the possibilities are much more open. As an example, you can see that in Odoo, actually, we have a lot of reports that are written using the financial report, like the profit and loss, the balance sheet, the cash summary, and most localization reports are written using the financial report. Some reports are written only using Python, like the general ledger, the bank reconciliation, the follow-ups, and some more. The list is not complete. So before I show you the demonstration, I'm going to explain to you a use case that we're going to use during this presentation. I'm going to use this use case to illustrate the different steps that is going to be needed to create a report. So we will be creating a report from scratch that will be a report that will give us the turnover of the company split by a country partner. So what we want is to be able to see to have a report that will give us the turnover by country and be able to drill down on each country and see the details for each partner under that country. So let me show you how you can do that first with the financial report. So here we are in Odoo. So to do that, you can create it via the interface, but you need to be in debug mode to see the menu. So here it is. So you can see the list of existing financial reports here. I will create my own. Let's call it turnover by country. You can see that here you can choose the different filters that will be visible on the report. So you can choose to have a report that have a filter where we can choose the dates, allow comparison, and some more. I need to specify where the menu item will be shown. So let's say that it will be under the accounting reporting menu. And finally, let's add a line to our report. So here we are creating the line for each object will be a line in the report. So what I want is to be able to see the country in this case. I need to specify a code. It doesn't have any parents since it's the first line. The level is to have the indentation where it will be shown. It's just cosmetics. And this is the important part. So as I said, it only works with account move lines, and you can only use some basic formulas. So in this case, we want to be to have the sum of all the account move line, and I will add a domain to only choose the line that we want. So what is the turnover? Turnover is just the sum of all the invoices you sent. So as we work with account move line, the domain will be with fields that are on account move line, obviously. So in this case, it will be the account move line must have an invoice ID. And the account type must be reconcilable, or receivable. So like that. Ah. Then let me save that first, and I will show you. What I want is to be able to group by country. That's the point of the report. However, there's a limitation to the financial reports that I can only use fields that are defined on the account move line object. So I can't, for example, write partner ID dot country ID dot code. That won't work. It will give me an error saying that it's not a field that is defined on the account move line. We can bypass that. First, to see that if it works, let's go by partner to see if our reports work. Refresh to see the menu appears. See, now I have a new report that is displayed, and I have my reports, as I said, grouped by partner. What I want is to be able to group by country. So how can I do that? I can add a field to the account move line object using, for example, Studio. In this case, I don't have Studio installed, so I'm gonna do it the old way. So I'm just adding a field to the account move line object. The type of the field is obviously a char, and it is a related field to the partner ID dot country ID dot code. So here I've created a new field that will give me the code, and that is on the account move line. So I can change my report. And group by this new field. This is something new we have in version 11, because before that we only allowed some fields. Now you can take all the fields you want from the account move line. So that's why it's working. Oh, not wrong report. This one. So as you can see, I'm able to see the turnover by country. However, there's still a limitation. It's that I can't drill down and see the partner on each country. So that's a problem with the financial report. You could, if you want, create a line by country in the financial report and give a different domain on each line and then group by partner, but it's quite fastidious, and it's not the point of this example. So this is just to show you that you can do some report using the financial report, but you have some limitation that you need to be aware of. So in case you want to do other things, you need to move to the custom reports where you will be doing some Python. So that's what we're going to do now. So first, let me explain to you how you can create a custom report. To do that, you need to create a class that is an abstract model. And that class must inherit from the account report class, like it's written here. Then you have to override 4 different methods. That's the basics you need to do to have a functional custom report. The methods are as follow. You have the get columns names that return the header of the table of the report. The get lines that will return all the lines of the report. The get report name, which is kind of easy because it's just the name of the report. And the get templates if you want to use your own templates to write the report. So I will explain to you the main the differences between each method. First, let's talk about the get column names. This method takes a parameter which is options. I will explain options later, but all you need to know is that option is used in most in most methods, and it's a dictionary that have the different value of the filter you have selected on the report. So if you change the date, you will find the value of the date you've selected in the option dictionary. This method returns a list of dictionary objects that represent the header of the table for the report. So it's very easy. It's each element of the list corresponds to a column, and each element must be a dictionary that can have the following keys. So you need to specify the name, which is mandatory. That's the name that will be displayed in the report for the column header. If you don't want a name to appear in the header, you can leave it empty, but you must specify the key value name. You can, but you don't have to specify the class, which will be a CSS class that will be added to the column. That way, if you want to format the column being a number or being a date or whatever you want, you can do that. And you can also specify the style, which is the same, but for inline CSS style. I will show you an example after explaining all that. The getLines method is the method that returns all the lines of the report. As you can see, it also has the option parameters and another parameter line ID. So this method returns all the lines of the report. However, if you specify the line ID, it is a parameter that is set only when you unfold the line in the report. And in this case, you should only return the line that are being unfolded and the subset of that line, if it's clear to you. So obviously, the order of the list is the order in which the lines are gonna appear in the report. And each line of the list is a dictionary object where you can have the specific keys. There are a lot of them. I'm just gonna quickly browse through them. The slides will be available, so if you want to have more information, you can check it out later. So what you need to specify is the ID, which will be the ID of the line. It is used when you reference for footnotes, when you unfold the line, and so on. Then you can specify the name. That will be the name that will be displayed in the first column. If you specify call span, that means that you can have the first column span over many columns. That's just for aesthetic reason. Then you can specify the columns, which is a list of the other column value. As for the header, you can specify a class, but in this case, the class will be just a class that will be added to the row and not to the column. In case you are using reports that can be unfolded, you need to specify which line can be unfolded using the unfoldable key. So if it's set to true, it means that the line can be unfolded. The unfolded key is just set to true if it has been unfolded, just for display. And parent ID is used to know the parent of the line that you have unfolded. Level is a key that is used to determine the layout. So it just if you specify 0 to 9, and it will just give a margin to the left on the first element of the column. And finally, action ID and character option. They are a bit more complicated. Action ID is an action that you can pass to the line. So if you want the line to be clickable and do something, you need to specify the action ID. Or if you want to have a drop-down on the line and have multiple actions possible, you need to specify a caret option. I will explain those now. So the caret option, as I said, if you specify this key, it will make a drop-down appear on, next to the line in the report view. And in that drop-down, you have several action possible depending on the value you've set on the caret option. I can show you if you quite don't see what it is. If I take an existing report, like general ledger, see that here next to the line, I have a drop-down value with different options that can allow me to view the invoice, view entry, annotate the line, and so on. You can't have the caret option set and the action ID set at the same time, because one is just an action that will be clickable on the line, and the other is an add and drop down. So if you want multiple action possible on the line, just use caret option. If you want to only be able to open something by clicking, use action ID. Some value that you can use are, for example, account. If you set caret option equal account, it will have the property, and it will be able to open the general ledger and annotate the line. If you use account invoice out, for example, you will be able to view the form view of the invoice, and so on. Obviously, you can add your own type of caret option, but that will need, if you do that, you will need to change a bit the view. So I will explain that in the further customization part of this presentation. Okay, so as I said, the action ID is used to perform an action when you click on the line. So action ID must be an ID of an existing ER action, and it can be used if you want to open another report from the current one, or to execute any standard action in Odoo. In case you are opening another report, you must know that the filter option you've selected are passed between the reports. So if you change the date in your report and then move to another report by clicking on a link, the options will be kept between the two reports. So they will open with the same date and the same filters. And finally, the get template method. This method is optional. You don't have to specify it for the reports to work. But if you want to write your own view or add some things to the view, change something, you can do that rather easily. So you just have to overwrite this method and specify the template you want to use. So we have 4 different templates. the main templates which correspond to the table, the line template which correspond to the line with the dropdown, the footnote templates. I don't think you need to change that one, but if you want, you can. And the search template is used for the filters that are displayed above the report. Okay, and then the last step you need to do to have a fully functional report is to obviously create the menu item and the action. So you need to create an interaction client that has a tag account report, and you need to specify the model of your report in the context. And then the menu item is like any other menu item in Odoo. Okay, so now that I've explained how you can create a simple report, let's try to redo our report or turnover report that way. So I'm not going to write everything, so I've already did it. And if you want to access the different commits, you can do that on this URL. So I've created a simple module where you can access that. And as I said, I just created a class, which is an abstract model. You can use from account report. And I've overwritten the free method. I didn't change the template in this case. So as you can see, it's rather straightforward. So I specified the names of my report, like I need a name for the country, and a column for the country, and a column for the turnover. I specified that this column is a number, so that the class number will format all the values to the right. It will be prettier. Okay, so the getLines method is what is interesting. So in this case, I've just wrote a simple SQL query to fetch all the lines we need. It's pretty much the same as what is done in the yes. I don't know if I can increase this size. It's not on a navigator. All right. Is it okay? Yes. Okay. So the getLines, as I said, is just I'm just performing an SQL query that pretty much do the same as the financial report. So I'm just gonna take the balance and I'm just checking for the lines that have an invoice ID that are not null, and where the user type ID is receivable. So I've got the result of my query, and I'm just adding the lines to my report. So here, as you can see, it's rather easy. So for each line in the result of my query, I'm adding a lines to my reports, which have the ID, the ID of the country, the name, which is the country code. Level 2 is just for the display. For now, I said that they can't be unfold, and the value of the column is just the balance. Then at the end, I create another line, which is the total of all the previous one. So nothing complicated here, I think. And finally, I give a name to my report. So we can see what it looks like. I've already created it here. So you can see that it's pretty much the same as the financial report for the first iteration. Now, what we want to do is to be able to drill down on each country and see the different partner. So this is done in the second commit. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly tell you what's changed between the two previous ones. So in this case, I specify that we are in a case where when I want to unfold, I have the line ID that is specified. So if the line ID is set, that means that we are unfolding the line. So in this case, we have another query that will fetch all the partner and the sum of the balance for those. And we add an element to the query that says that the country must be the line we are currently unfolding. So that's just a query that will fetch the different partner. This is the same as the first one. And I'm adding the line for the different partners. So in this case, notice that I've changed the first line saying that they can be unfolded. And if we are in a case where unfolded, I need to set it to true if we are unfolding this one. No. So this is pretty much the same as before. So I'm adding the child lines, giving them an ID. I need to make sure that the ID is not the same as the previous one. So that's something the developer needs to pay attention to. I get the name, which is the name of the partner. I increase a bit the level so that it will be displayed nicely. I specify the parent ID so that I know that when I fold and unfold, which line are being hidden. And that's it. So I need to restart the server to show you the difference. See, now that I've specified that the line can be unfolded, I can unfold them and I can see the details. So that's pretty much what we want for this report. However, there's still something missing. I don't know if you see what. I don't have any filters. So I can't select the date for the reports. I can't choose whatever I want. So now that I've got a report that's working, I need to add the filters. So that's what I'm going to explain to you. So how can you add filter? It's pretty easy. So you must know that when you create a custom report in Odoo, you can define the variety of filters to use. We have all those filters that are available. You can create your own, but if you need to. So the one that are most common is the filter date. If you want to be able to choose the date for the report, you can compare between different dates. You can choose to have all entries displayed or just the post-it entries. If you work with different journals, you can have a filters where you can select the journals. You can have a filter that will unfold everything in one go. You can add filters on analytic account. And you can also have a filters on cache basis. You don't have to specify the filters for the multi-company because it's done automatically. So if your user has the group multi-company and you have, if you are in an environment with multi-companies, the filters will be automatically available. So you don't need to bother with the multi-company settings. So how can you add the filter you want to your report? So you just have to add them as a class variable. So as you can see in the example, in this case, I just specified that I want the date to be displayed on the report, the cache basis, journals, and all entries. You must pay attention that the value that I wrote next to the filter is the default value for the filter. So if you just want the filter to appear on the report, you just need to say that the value is different from known. So filter cache basis equals false. It just means that we will be able to filter by cache basis, and when we open the report, the default value will be false for that one. The date filter and comparison filter are a bit special because you can have two types of dates. So you can have a date range. You can choose your reports. You can choose to have your reports to have from date from to date 2, or you can choose to have a report which is which use no date range, which means that you have all the entries up to that date. So when you specify those filters, you need to specify the key. They can be empty, just to know if the report is if the filter is a date range or not. The filter value is just to fill the date when you open the report for the first time. Okay, so remember that I said that options is a parameter that was passed between the different methods. So how is this dictionary built? It's built based on the filters you've defined on your class. So that means that if you specify filter date and filter comparison, they will be put inside the option dictionary, and you will be able to access the date and comparison key inside that dictionary to retrieve the value of the different filters. This is done automatically, so you don't have to bother with that, but that way you know how it is built. You also have special values that can be found in the option that are not specially defined in the class variables. Those values, as I said, the multi-company, because you don't need to do anything with the multi-company, and unfolded lines. Unfolded lines is the list of all the lines that have been unfolded. That way, if you go back to another report and came back to the previous one, you can reopen it with all the lines that were unfolded before. So now we can try to add some filters to our report to see what it looks like. So let me take the next commit. This commit is just 3 lines, so pretty much nothing changed. I just specify that I want to have the date filter and to be able to filter by all entries. I don't know if it's relevant or not for the report, but that will give you an example. I can show you the diff. That way you will see that pretty much nothing has changed. So as you can see, the difference between the two is just I just add the 2 filters, and I specify that when I'm gonna get the lines, I need to use the strict range to true. That way I won't have any problem with the date. So we start the server and we can see what it looks like. See, now I have access to 2 different filters. So if I want to filter by last month, I can see the reports with different values. You might wonder why I didn't change the getLines method to take the filters into account. That's because when I did the getLines method, I called an helper, which is query get, and this helper will return me some SQL clauses that I can use to build my query, and it will take into account most of the filter that is already existing. This is why I didn't need to bother saying if option dot get date and add it to my query here. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to add filters. I think that's it for the filters. Now let's move to the further customization part. So in this part, you can pretty much customize your reports whatever you want. You can, as I said, define new filters if you need them. So if you need new filters, you can create them. I just need to specify them as a class variable prefixed with the filter underscore. That way, when we build the option dictionary, we will be able to add it to the dictionary. Then you need to create a view that inherits from the default search view, and you can add your filters there. For now, we currently support 3 types of filters, which are the Boolean filter, like true or false, choose one or multiple value from a list, like one company or multiple company, or one journal, multiple journals, and choose only one value from a list. If you need more advanced things, you will have to dig into the JavaScript code. So I recommend checking out how it's done for the other search filters, so you can see it's easier that way. Then, once you've changed your search template view, you need to specify it in the getTemplates method. That way, it will be accessible to your report. And finally, you need to adapt your getLines method so that it will take into account the value of your filters. So, as I said, you can change the view for your report. So, in some cases, you might need to slightly adapt the report if you want to add a link next to the column or of whatever you need, in fact. The easiest way to do that is by inheriting the existing view and make the change you want using XPath. Then don't forget to mention the primary equal true key, because if you don't do that, it will overwrite the initial view. So don't forget that. Otherwise, you might have problems with the previous reports. Then the last step is obviously defining your view in the getTemplates method. In some cases, you might want to do specific actions when, for example, when you have a drop-down and you want to be able to have an action to do that. To do that, you need to change the view, and in the view, you create a node with at least an action attribute. The value of that action attribute will be the name of a method in Python that will be called. And if you want to pass arguments to that action, you can specify them using the data attribute in the same HTML node. So I will show you an example after that. And then your Python method should always have the following signature. So it should take 2 arguments, which are options and params. Option is obviously the value of the filters, and params is a dictionary that contains all the data that were specified on the HTML node. So that's the parameter you pass to your action. And this method should always return an action ID or an action. You might have noticed that by default, you only have 2 buttons in the header for each report, which are print PDF and print XLS. You might want to add some buttons. To do that, you can just extend or overwrite the getReports button method. This method is pretty easy, so you just take a name. Each element is a dictionary that takes as name the name of the button, and the action is an action that will be called in Python. So you can add buttons that do what you want. And if you want to print using other formats than PDF and XLS, you can do that. However, you need to. We currently support XML, TXT, and CSV, but you need to write your own method for those formats. And obviously, you need to add the button to the getButton method. If you need more format than those, you can do that, but you have to change the controller. So now that we've seen a bit how to change the view and add actions, what can we do to our existing reports to make it better? For example, I would be able to see on agrolay to have a drop-down that will propose me to have an action that will show me all invoice for that partner given the date I choose. So that's what I did in the last one. Let me show you the code. So in this case, I had to change the view. So I created a view that inherits from the line, for the default line template. As I said, don't forget to mention primary equal true. And this line will add to the dropdown. So this is what it does actually. So the XPath will add to the last element of the dropdown an action that will be called view invoice. So remember that I said that action will be the name of the Python method that will be called. And in this case, I passed as parameter the ID of the line, which is because data is given to the parameters. And so I can check in Python. So remember that I need to change my getTemplates method to take into account what I did. And here is the actions that will open the invoice. So I can see that params, I get back the ID from the params. Then I call the action to open the view, and I add as domain the partner ID and the date I choose in the filters. Then I return the action. I can show you that. I just have to update the module, which is okay. So refresh to see the change. So now I changed the view, so that's why I had to update the module. So as you can see, I am able to see a dropdown with the action I added, and if I click on it, I will be able to see the different invoice for that partner on the date I choose. So and I think that's it. So do you have any questions? Yes?
In case I need to print a report in other colors,
Yes?
is that a way to customize it from Odoo or from Python? Print it in other colors.
I think you need to do it in Python.
Other question. The same way you add a filter data,
Yeah.
I can add an accounting filter.
Yeah.
This is done from Python.
Yeah.
Is that a way from Odoo Studio if I write
No,
it?
Odoo Studio doesn't work with the client action for the moment, I think.
For filters, I cannot add filters from Studio.
No. Yes?
At the beginning, you show it, there is some financial reports. Have you thought to adding more reports like journal ledger?
In financial reports?
Yeah.
Maybe in the future we'll change the financial reports to have more possibilities, but it's not up to me. So I don't know if we will do that soon or not. Yes?
In the beginning you showed the created report and there was a beautiful formulas.
Yes.
You typed in a formula like balance equals
Yeah.
Are there any other formulas and where can I see those?
You can only use sum over a period. So like I said, the sum. You can reference other financial reports by code. If you look at the existing financial reports, you will be able to see it. For example, if I take the balance sheet, see that I've got all the lines for the balance sheet. And they all have a formula that is, it will take the lines that referenced by the code CA, or you can use sum and add a domain.
Okay.
You can refer to other reports or other element of the same financial report. And yes?
and I have calculated fields. For instance, I want the percentage of this period compared to the rest of the year.
You can do that, but it depends if you do it with the financial report or the custom report. If you did using custom reports, you have to write the code in Python to do the computation to have the percentage. If you do it financial reports, you just check the comparison, and I think if you only have 2 columns, and you can specify, and it will show you the difference in percentage between the two. That's a default. I think I can show you. So if I take, for example, the profit and loss and only compare for one period, see, I will have a percentage between the two. But not for the custom report, so you need to do that yourself.
Another question, is there a restriction in the amount of levels if you go analytic? When you have several analytic levels, is there a restriction in the levels?
Not sure for that one, but I will have to check. So. Yes?
I missed, it said that when you create report, the column names is in that order, it will appear in that order.
Yeah.
But I missed the part when you say this is a country, this is a balance. If you want to, in example, switch that,
Yeah.
be first the balance and then the country.
Yeah. You can.
Miss that part in the code.
If you want to.
Then you map the column name and the column base.
Yeah. You see here, you specify the name of the column. So if you want to switch, you just have to switch the two of them.
Okay.
Okay. And then when you fill with the data of the line, in this case, the name will be the value of the first column, and then in the columns you have the value of the other columns.
Okay, so first column is all called name.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
Because you can span the column over multiple columns with the call span. Any other questions? Yes?
The invoices we see at the end,
Yeah.
we can do it with Motiver?
I'm not sure I understood the question. You mean when I open here the invoices?
Oui.
It's just the default view for the invoice, but I added a domain to take into account the
No, we can do it with Motiver?
without, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, of course. The debug mode was just to have access to the menu to create the financial report. So if you don't have it, obviously the report's still working. So do you understand?
No, it's not a question.
Ah,
You see, you have done the invoices with code, but with Motiver.
I'm not sure I understand.
Parce que vous avez fait avec le code, mais est-ce qu'on peut le faire avec le Motiver?
Oui, enfin, yes, you can.
Non,
Ah,
c'est pas ça, il a mis des champs avec le Motiver.
ah yeah, we can talk. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much for your attention.